Well, if you blitz, you're going in gaps. If you go in gaps, you got to go man coverage on the outside. If you go man coverage on the outside, do you take an inside technique with your corners?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, folks. We have something special for you. Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback and four-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw is with us. How are you, Mr. Bradshaw?
Well, good morning, Ryan. How you doing, bud?
You know, everything's going so far so good. I'm very interested to have a conversation with you about these playoffs, but you're also promoting the Ford Hall of Fans, and I think that's a pretty unique situation.
It is. This is. I've been with Ford a long time, and they came up with this idea last year to start it, and it was our first year. And basically what it is the fans of the Kansas City Chiefs can nominate someone that they said, this guy's the best Chiefs fan you've ever met in your life. And to prove that, what they have to do is basically just go on to FordHallOfFans.com football, and they can vote for them every day up to January 27th. And then on the 27th, what happens, they would then they go to Miami where the Super Bowl is being played. They're in a hotel room, and if they get a knock on the door from Hall of Fame President David Baker, they have been selected to go into the Ford Hall of Fame, and what they have is a place in the Hall of Fame. And last year's winner, you get a Hall of Fame jacket, the same color that the inductees wear. It is just a cool thing, and this thing has been a huge success for Ford, for the Hall of Fame, and for the NFL. And right now we're down to, I believe, 6 teams that are in the finalists, and Kansas City's got to start voting every day. It's a fun thing, it's a cool thing, and it's a real thing. That's what's important.
And yeah, it sounds like the Pro Bowl voting of fandom, so that's great.
Exactly, it is. Well, you know, this entire league, as you know, Ryan, is built on fans. Chiefs have great fans. I mean, you talk to Howie Long and Chris Collinsworth and Ronnie Lott, they'll all tell you that of the 32 stadiums in the NFL, the Chiefs Stadium is voted one of the hardest to play in because of the fans.
And there's plenty to go on now. I'd like to start really when we get into the football. We've gone through the regular season. There's been ups and downs as there is every year. But from your unique perspective, how did they start? How was this wild card weekend for you?
Well, it's been somewhat of a surprise. I thought it's been a hard pick for us because Seattle into Philadelphia, I thought Philly would win. Philly lost. They lost their quarterback, too, after 6 minutes, but they lost the game. And then the other game, I don't even know what it was now. What was the other game last week? The Vikings. Who did they play? I can't even remember now.
The Saints.
Oh, how could I forget? The Saints. That was a surprise. I thought New Orleans would beat them. And unfortunately, once again, at the end of the game, you got a questionable call on a fade route or at the goal line, and Rudolph makes a great catch and extends the left arm, which should have been pass interference, or some would view as pass interference, and the Saints go home, and Minnesota goes out to play the 49ers. So that was somewhat of a surprise. Everything else, I thought New England losing to Tennessee, that was a surprise. Houston winning like they won in a close game. I thought the first weekend of playoffs were pretty doggone competitive, no blowouts, and very exciting.
I agree with you completely, and I'm really intrigued because I thought the Texans really showed a lot of backbone to come back in that game, and that's who the Chiefs get this week. And for me, it all boils down to the position that you know best, Mahomes versus Watson. How do you see those two guys as competing against each other's offenses?
Well, listen, Patrick Mahomes he's right there above Jackson in Baltimore as far as excitement goes and talent level. He is the real deal. He's surrounded by Andy Reid and the staff that puts people out there for him to compete with. Because I've said this, and I've said it, and I kind of had some fun this week with Tom Brady in New England because Howie and Jimmy and Michael said, well, they just got to get Tom some talent and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, the other 31 NFL teams are saying, well, welcome to our world. You can't play the position of quarterback without talent around you, and nor can you evaluate quarterbacks without giving them an opportunity to be successful, which means putting talent around them. That's why we have so many of these kids are considered failures. Tannehill leaves Miami, and under that coach Gase, who's supposed to be an offensive guy, who's now with the Jets, and he goes to Tennessee, where they have one of the most exciting running backs in Derrick Henry. And he plays lights out. So you put talent around these guys, and I think Tannehill is playing lights out.
When it comes down to it, I'm glad you mentioned weapons. When you look at Deshaun Watson's group versus Mahomes' group, Hill, Kelsey, Watkins, Hardman for Mahomes versus Hopkins, Fuller, and Stills as pass catchers for Watson, how do they rank up in your eyes?
I think you're fine. I mean, you've got the explosive Hill, man. You've got the tight end. You can run it. I mean, it stacks up well. I think your offense, you have the weapons to be as explosive as you can possibly be. And you have the quarterback, and your offensive line's pretty doggone good. So I don't see a problem there. Your offense is a little more electric, I think, more from the standpoint that Patrick makes great plays when he's scrambling out of the pocket and throws from all these angles that we're used to. When you look at the kid down in Houston, throws a beautiful ball, really snaps it off nice. He's aloof, and both of these guys are big game. I think Watson and Mahomes are both big time players. They play well in big games. They're explosive quarterbacks, and they're both the real deal. So that the only difference would be that Patrick's a little bigger, and has got a bigger his offense is much more explosive. I think Andy Reid, man. I think Patrick Mahomes just put Andy Reid another 10 years in this league. Andy Reid's got to say thank you, Lord, for this marvelous young man that we drafted. You know.
I can't think of a better place for Mahomes to land, to tell you the truth. And that brings me to a question. Like, when you look at today's generation of quarterbacks, he ends up in a great situation with Reid. But compared to even 20 years ago, the Aikmans of the world, et cetera, how do you see the evolution of the quarterback and what these guys are becoming?
Well, I see the evolution of the African-American quarterback in the NFL evolving greater than it's ever been in the history of the NFL, simply because they're finally evaluating them and giving them a chance and finding out how, number one, how smart they are and how athletic they are, not to mention how great they are with the football in their hand, running or passing. And man, that's a dual threat. It could have started a long time ago, but let's go back to Randall Cunningham in Philadelphia. Let's go to Michael Vick, who's the fastest quarterback ever to play the position. Electrifying. We can go to Colin in San Francisco. We're seeing the evolution of a very athletic quarterback that can play from the pocket, and then when forced out, can just wreak havoc on a defense from the perimeter. That's an evolution. I even said on Fox, you're seeing the way the NFL is eventually going to be played, because you can't always have slugs back there in the pocket. Mm-hmm. And this game's way too big and it's way too fast. And with all the African American quarterbacks coming out of college now, and they're all running that run pass option, and then when under pressure they can all run, they can throw, they're smart. And the NFL has finally got past the color barrier, and now you're going to see the true advancement of the African American kids playing quarterback in the NFL. And you can just look at Deshaun Watson. You can look at the kid Jackson. These are electrifying quarterbacks in the NFL. You can go up to Seattle and look at Wilson. He is both not as electrifying as the others, but accurate on the deep ball, great moving out of the pocket, and can run. So you're seeing that's the evolution, I think, that the NFL is going to take. Oh, you're always going to have a Brady. You're always going to have a Roethlisberger. You're always going to have the guy that stands. You're going to have a Drew Brees. Those are always going to be there, but the majority are going to be extremely athletic.
I think it's really interesting, the evolution we're seeing on the offensive side as well. The RPO versus the classic run game.
Right.
Where do you stand there with teams like Baltimore and Tennessee getting to the point that they are?
How do you stop that? You know what? We've had a couple of years to stop this run-pass option. And some teams do a pretty good job of it. And if they can stop the run, they can't stop the slant. If they can stop, that's why you'll see a greater emphasis in the drafts now on cornerbacks. And they can't wait to get that kid out of LSU, that freshman that made All-American. He's amazing. But it will always be there. Every college team in America is running that offense. Every one of them. Nobody is not running that. Oh, maybe Leach up at Washington State is not running it. Maybe the guy in Oregon is not running it. Maybe the guy at Southern Cal is not running. That's just three. But I can't think of, if you go to Penn State, if you go to Florida, if you go to Florida State, Alabama runs a version of it. I mean, it's being run by everybody. And it's just drives defense is crazy. And so what they do over there is let's blitz them. Well, if you blitz, you're going in gaps. If you go in gaps, you got to go man coverage on the outside. If you go man coverage on the outside, do you take an inside technique with your corners? Well, that gives them the fade route if they have speed. If you give a fade route, you don't have time. See, the ball's got to be out of your hand. So, I mean, it's just kind of fun to watch it evolve, and it's fun to watch what people do. If you look last year, the Chargers went to Baltimore, and I mean to the Ravens. Yeah, Baltimore. I keep thinking culture in Baltimore, but anyway, the Ravens. And what they do there? 7 defensive backs, and they beat them. So it's just stuff like that. Now with Mark Ingram running for the Ravens, that puts it different. Now you just can't play 7 defensive backs, so now you get gashed for the run. So Kansas City's version is use it not as much, but Mahomes, he does it from the pocket, and you got DeShaun, he does it both. He does both. It drives defenses crazy. Oh, they can sit there. Well, here's who you read. Here's who you read. Here's what you're reading. You can't. But the problem with the RPO is that you can't hold the football. You cannot. You have to get rid of it. You either run or you got to throw it. You cannot hold on to that football, and that's probably the downsides to it. Is the fact that if it's not there, if it's not running, if it's not passing, your quarterback gets hit. And that's another problem. And another thing is you get sacked and nothing comes from it. So it's fascinating to watch. It's a beautiful thing to see it evolve. And it's great to see the NFL adopting a lot of things they do in college that benefits their football team, especially with the athletes that are coming out of the NFL now at all positions.
Well, I think it's really intriguing for the fans too, and is really at the forefront of what you're doing with the Ford Hall of Fans as well.
Yeah. Well, that's your guy. And so I would just tell everybody in the Kansas City Chiefs area, just go online every day and vote for him. And when Baker comes around, he'll knock on his door and say, hey, congratulations, you are a Ford Hall of Fans.com winner, and you're going into the Hall of Fame. You've got all that time, Ryan, and get those fans out there and have them go online, have them vote, and put him in there. And it'd be great for the Kansas City Chiefs and the fan base. What my wife is sitting right across from me. I already got her. I already promised her tickets to the championship game and the Chiefs game next week. That's right. That's where we're sending her next week with her best friend Christy. They're big Chiefs fans, and so I have to. I don't want to say deal so she can hear me, but yeah.
Well, we appreciate the support, and I'm sure the team does too.
Oh, yeah. She's always asking me, honey, are the Chiefs going to have trouble this week? Nope, not a problem, babe. Not a problem. So, and she tapes all their games, so it's pretty crazy. I got her a Patrick Mahomes autographed helmet last year. Yeah, so you're talking to a Chiefs family here, bub. I'm a Saints guy. She's a Chiefs guy. Of course, I'm Steelers also, but
yeah, don't forget them. Folks, yes. 4 rings and a Hall of Fame bust. Terry Bradshaw, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Ryan Tracy is the founder of Rogue Analytics and the host of RGR Football on YouTube. Follow him there. Chris Clark is a senior analyst at ChiefsDigest.com, where you can get his work. Rate and review at Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you for listening.